Yes, nowhere no sweet like Jamaica. Independence Day 2016 might have come and gone, but the celebrations never end. And that's why in today's show we give you highlights of the 2016 National Independence and Emancipation celebratory events. And later, RADA revolutionizes the agriculture sector. So don't you dare change the channel. We'll be right back.
We no longer wear like Jamaica. Pity, 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 pity. Because no one else we like Jamaica.
We have championed e-learning in Jamaica, provided state-of-the-art technology in over 200 educational institutions, developed materials for CSEC, piloted the Tablets in Schools project in 38 schools, including infant and primary, and trained thousands of teachers in technology integration. We are e-Learning Jamaica Company Limited, ELJAM, an agency of the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology. Visit our website, www.elearnja.org.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, August 10. The Jamaica Customs Agency, JCA, has commissioned the second of 4 small boats to carry out surveillance within the ports. With the honors done by Finance State Minister Favour Williams, the newly refurbished boat was named Skip McLaughlin on August 9 and commissioned into service. 2 additional boats anchored at Twickenham Park are also earmarked for refurbishing. Minister of Finance Audley Shaw commended the JCA for seeing the value in acquiring the out-of-service vessel and carrying out refurbishing works to suit its needs.
This approach is something breaks down or the need of adequate servicing and refurbishment, then do the wise thing and refurbish it. So I really want to commend this initiative. It is an important part of border security and protection of not just the revenue, but also protecting life and property.
Equipped with navigational devices and a capacity to carry 12 persons, the boat will allow the Customs Agency to support the JCF Marine Police and JDF Coast Guard in patrolling Jamaica's borders. Minister Shaw says government is also exploring the acquisition of additional maritime, sea and aircraft within the next few months for the Jamaica Defence Force's deep-sea border protection activities.
We're actually working on between 2 and 3 additional sea vessels for the JDF, and equally we are working on getting aircrafts, more than one, to be able to adequately patrol our borders.
In the meantime, Commissioner of Customs Major Richard Rees says the JCA has surpassed its revenue target for the first 4 months of the current fiscal year. The agency's net revenue target for April to July was $58.92 billion, but it has so far earned just over $59 billion.
We exceeded the year-to-date target by 1% or $0.447 billion. Compared to financial year 15-16, we would have brought in $52.99 billion, which would represent a change of $6.376 billion or 10.7% over last year.
Major Rees made the comments in a press briefing following the commissioning ceremony for the JCA's latest patrol vessel and a tour of Customs House by the Finance Minister. The Cannabis Licensing Authority, CLA, is warning members of the public to stop the illegal sale and purchasing of cannabis products. The CLA released the statement in response to reports of a proliferation of cannabis, cannabis-infused and cannabis-derived products of both local and overseas origin being made available and/or sold throughout Jamaica. The authority says any such sale is both illegal and unregulated, as it has not granted licenses, permits or approvals to any individual, company or cooperative. The CLA says it only began accepting applications in June 2016 and the estimated processing time for each application is 5 months. In the meantime, the legal and permitted use of ganja religiously and as a sacrament is exclusive to the Rastafarian faith and is administered by the Ministry of Justice. Interim regulations for the legal ganja industry came into law in May 2016, and since then the CLA has been holding public town hall meetings and parish stakeholder meetings, gathering feedback that will likely result in amendments to the regulations. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is assuring that there will be no compromise on the educational standards set at the early childhood level. He was reacting to news that only 17 early childhood institutions had reached the quality assurance standard set by the Early Childhood Commission.
And I want the nation to be assured that there will be no compromise of the education standards that are set at the early childhood level. In fact, the small number that has achieved it shows our ambitions and aspirations, which we must not compromise. Our children deserve the best education possible.
The Prime Minister was addressing Tuesday's launch of the National Baking Company Foundation's Little Leaders program. Through the initiative, $70 million will be spent on distributing learning kits to more than 2,500 early childhood institutions starting this September. A national calendar of major entertainment activities is being established by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. It is to be marketed by the Ministry of Tourism. Culture and Entertainment Minister Olivia Grange made the announcement on Tuesday while speaking at the launch of the first One World Ska and Rocksteady Music Festival.
It is now time for us to monetize all that we have, ensuring that most, if not all, of the earnings from these dynamic products flow back into the country to boost the national economy. So, we have to be committed to the establishment of a national festival calendar with a support plan for the staging of each, which will give the Ministry of Tourism the mechanism, the tool or the product where they can market.
Meanwhile, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett has lauded the creation of the Ska and Rocksteady Music Festival as an important tourism earner.
Reggae, as we understand its emergence and its evolution, cannot be separated from that. And Ska and Rocksteady represents the cradle of that process. And so, to identify with a music festival that celebrates that beginning and accentuates the role that that particular period has played in the development of our civilization as we know it today is very, very critical to us in tourism.
The festival was conceptualized by Chairman of Sounds and Pressure Limited, Julian Jingles Reynolds. And finally, Sport Minister Olivia Grange is urging Jamaicans to continue showing their support for swimmer Alia Atkinson, who competed in the 100-meter breaststroke at the Olympic Games on Monday. Alia finished 8th in the breaststroke final, which was won by the American Lily King in a new Olympic record time of 1 minute 4.93 seconds. Minister Grange says Alia represented the island well and the nation can be proud of her. The sport minister is also encouraging everyone to continue to support the entire Jamaican Olympic team in Rio. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
Despite the threat of Tropical Storm Earl earlier this month, the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission successfully led a wide range of fun and engaging week-long independence activities. Just in case you missed any of the fun, here's a recap.
Nothing could stop the festivity experienced by patrons at this year's National Emancipation and Independence celebratory events. On the final celebratory night was the Miss Jamaica Festival Queen competition. Miss St. James, Kaisha Randall, walked away with the winning crown. And when asked why she entered the competition, she had this to say.
Women empowerment and using this platform to kind of just empower young people, not just women, but boys as well, and to crack that glass ceiling some more for women to step out of their comfort zone. It's a platform to be a cultural ambassador for your country, and I think this is the most amazing place to get it done.
And as customary on Independence Day, the National Stadium was a sea of black, green and gold as patriotic patrons came out for the Grand Gala. Over 1,000 performers participated, and boy did they put on a show. Reggae made the top of the agenda for days 6 and 7 as the Randy Williams Entertainment Center was a packed venue with numerous reggae fans who came to support the World Reggae Dance Championships and Reggae to Rio concert. And those in attendance truly had a blast. And then there was Mellow Go Round. As usual, a wide range of cultural performances were on display to suit the tastes of everyone present. The week of events started off with a national Thanksgiving service and an evening of praise at the Gospel Song Competition finals.
I don't know about you, but one thing I do know is that When the praises go up, the blessings must come down. Marsha, Jarrett, send up the praise. Sending up the praise. Sending up the praise. The winning song.
I was going through a situation for over 10 years, an illness that the doctors could not find a cure for, even when I traveled. And I just decided one night that I would just get up and be radical about it and just decide that no more. I'm just going to praise God no matter what.
I have watched all of these performers grow from just persons who walked in with a little track or with a song, with a keyboard, and I mean, it's been an amazing journey.
Jamaica is like a seabed of talent, no matter which field you go into, especially singing. When you listen to young people and sing, man, you realize we are not ordinary type of people because, you know, talent is like in every one of us.
Let's talk some more about singing. A few weeks before the August 1 start of the celebrations was the festival song competition. O'Neil Scott, more popularly known as Nazaman, walked away the winner with his patriotic entry, No Way Like Jamaica.
We no longer way like Jamaica. Because no one is sweet like Jamaica. Oh, yeah. Because I will not leave sweet Jamaica, end up in a foreign land. Things we achieve, so we blessed by the Father, mighty, mighty, mighty.
The reports that we are getting is that right across Jamaica, in all parishes, the events have been tremendously successful. We had a little itch, as you know, with the threat of the storm, but we were able to pull things back together within 2 days, and I'm very, very satisfied that we have once again delivered to Jamaica.
But it would not be possible without dedicated patrons who offer their support year after year after year.
There is a lot of talented young persons in today's societies, and this competition is one of the ways to let their talent show. I would tell all Jamaicans to come support all of these events because it's really important.
I think that is very important, especially for the younger generation, to keep in touch with the culture and how great Jamaica is.
It shows that things has developed tremendously, and this is what we really need in this country.
It is a wonderful feeling that we have been able to ensure that for Jamaica 54, we have embraced the entire island. The JCDC is doing a wonderful job, and I just want to say that moving from Jamaica 54 into Jamaica 55 is going to be awesome.
Let's celebrate Jamaica to the world. Fastest man in the world. First Jamaican woman to win gold in Olympic 100-meter sprint. An upcoming global superstar. Mouth-watering meals. And a vibrant set of people. We are Jamaicans. Let's get together and bring back the love.
Our Jamaican athletes are celebrated worldwide for their hard work and tradition of excellence. Right now, they are the talk of the town in Rio de Janeiro. But being a successful professional athlete is not as easy as it looks. It has its rigors, such as the process of regular doping control. Not sure what I'm talking about? Have a look.
Athletes can be selected for drug testing either in competition or out of competition. They will be required to provide a sample of their urine, blood, or both for analysis. In-competition testing can be done up to 12 hours before or immediately after an athlete participates in a sporting competition. They can be selected either through random selection based on their finishing position or through target testing. Out-of-competition testing can happen at any time or anywhere. Athletes from the registered testing pool, the group of top-level athletes established by the National Anti-Doping Organization, are required to submit whereabouts information to facilitate out-of-competition testing.
After selection for testing, the athlete is notified by a certified doping control officer, DCO, or chaperone. The DCO and chaperone should provide valid identification as well as their letter of authority. The athlete is then required to provide valid identification, sign the notification form, and report to the doping control station immediately. A legitimate request for a delay can be granted for reasons including participation in a medal ceremony, completion of a training session, or finding an interpreter or a representative to assist with the sample collection process. At all times, the DCO or chaperone must ensure that the athlete remains in full view until they are ready to provide their sample. It therefore means the athlete will be shadowed everywhere he or she goes. Upon arrival at the doping control station, the athlete should provide their personal information such as name, address, and telephone number, which is written on the doping control form. If a urine sample is requested, he or she will begin the sample collection process by washing hands with water only. After that, the athlete will be asked to select a sample collection vessel and ensure it is sealed and intact, enter the restroom accompanied by the DCO or chaperone of the same sex, disrobe from mid-torso to knees to provide a clear view of the passing of the urine, and pass at least 90 milliliters of urine into the vessel in full view of the DCO or chaperone. Athletes must keep possession of their urine sample at all times until it is sealed. If the urine sample is less than 90 milliliters, then a partial sample kit must be used. A different partial sample kit will be used to store each sample passed until the volume of urine is equal to or more than 90 milliliters. The athlete will select a partial sample kit, checking to ensure it is intact. Pour the entire urine sample in the partial sample kit, close and seal the kit as instructed by the DCO. The athlete can choose to keep the partial sample or leave it with the DCO. The DCO or chaperone must continue to shadow the athlete until he or she is ready to pass another urine sample. The athlete will then have to select another sample collection vessel and pass urine as he or she did before. When the required volume is reached, all samples will be combined in a new sample collection vessel, beginning with the first partial sample passed. The athlete will then select a urine sample kit. After checking the box containing the kit to ensure it is sealed and intact, they should open and remove its contents: 2 bottles, one labeled A and the other labeled B, as well as 2 plastic bags. Ensure the seals on the bottles have not been broken and that the code numbers on both bottles, the bottle caps, as well as those on the box are the same. Those numbers will also be recorded on the doping control form. Then, as instructed by the DCO, the athlete should pour the urine sample up to the marked line in the bottle labeled B. Then, pour the urine sample up to the marked line in the bottle labeled A. Any remaining urine should be poured up to the shoulder in the bottle labeled A. If there is still more urine, it should be poured into the bottle labeled B, leaving only a small amount in the sample collection vessel. These represent the athlete's A and B samples. The athlete will then close both bottles securely, ensuring there is no leakage. At this point, the DCO can also check to ensure the bottles are securely closed. The athlete will then be instructed to put the bottles in the plastic bags and place them in the box. The plastic bags will then be sealed and the athlete will close the box and hand it over to the DCO. The DCO will use the remaining urine in the sample collection vessel to check for specific gravity and record that information on the doping control form. An additional sample of at least 90 milliliters will be required if the specific gravity does not fall within the normal range. Both samples will be sent to the laboratory for analysis. The athlete will then be required to complete the doping control form by reviewing personal information, revealing any substances, prescription, or over-the-counter medication or supplements they have taken within the last 7 days. writing down any concerns they may have had with the doping control process, reviewing the code information that was accorded, and placing their signature on the form. The athlete will receive a personal copy of the doping control form. The testing authority will retain one, and one copy which does not bear the athlete's personal information will be sent to the laboratory. Modifications to the testing process can be allowed for athletes who are minors as well as those with special needs. For example, minors can choose to have an adult representative present at all times, including when they go to pass their urine, and athletes with physical disabilities, like those who use alternate urine collection or drainage systems, should remove and drain the existing collection bag so they can give a fresh sample. After the sample is collected, it's packaged and sent to a World Anti-Doping Agency WADA accredited laboratory where the sample is analyzed. For more information, contact the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission at 5-9 South Odeon Avenue. Call 960-7466 or 960-2416. You can also send an email to the Communication and Education Department at comed@jadco.gov.jm. And remember to visit our Facebook and Twitter pages.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is committed to ensuring that every Jamaican child has the best learning environment to thrive and needs your cooperation to make the education system work successfully.
What are the school's voluntary contributions for?
Co-curricular and sports activities and school development.
What amount are parents to contribute?
Your contributions are voluntary and the amount depends on the type of programs being offered by the school.
If my child is being denied access to school, can I complain to the ministry?
Yes. You can call or visit any of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information's 6 regional offices or send an email to complaints@moey.gov.jm.
What support is there for PATH students?
PATH students are not expected to make contributions and are to be provided with 5 days free lunch as of this year.
Parents and guardians, do continue to make your voluntary financial contributions to your children's school. The institutions need your assistance for their school development and sporting activities. Remember, every child can learn. Every child must learn.
Over the past few decades, our agriculture sector has seen lots of growth and development, and the agency that has been instrumental in its advancement is the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. Have a look now at its contribution to the sector over the past 26 years.
Agriculture has always been the backbone of Jamaica's economy, providing food and raw material for consumption and export, as well as numerous employment and entrepreneurial opportunities. And the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, has played an integral role in the sector, creating a sustainable environment through the use of technology and contemporary farming practices.
RADA is the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, and it was established to stimulate and promote rural development among farmers and farm families in Jamaica.
Since 1990, RADA has provided over 230,000 farmers with the technical know-how through numerous programs aimed at making them more capable of managing their farms and knowledgeable about how to improve the quality of their output.
We have in RADA several programs. We have internationally funded programs. We have the GeoG Adaptation Fund, which is a climate smart program. We have the agro-parks, which are, as you know, agro-park spans different parishes. And of course, we in RADA provide the technical services necessary to bring those parks into, productivity and production. The Irish Potato Program was a program that started some years ago, probably 5 years ago. And one of its main objectives is to promote sustainable production of Irish potato. And it is one of those crops that we term import substitution crops. We are about 90% self-sufficient.
I have benefited from the Irish Potato Program. Yes, and I have also gotten training along with seedlings, fertilizer and stuff like that.
Without RADA, it would be very, very difficult because they form that bridge where you can call to find markets, different ministries, various things that we need.
And RADA has also been incorporating more women and youth in its programs to encourage new entrants in agricultural business ventures.
I was on the GOG Adaptation Fund program where I did Irish potato. Under that program, women and youth. Irish potato has now become my favorite crop. We learn how to apply the fertilizer, how to apply the spray. When the crop is ready, we will learn post-harvest, pre-harvest, and diseases, all of that under the program.
In addition to hosting programs that provide farmers with the exposure and skills needed to transform their farming experience, RADA has introduced appropriate information and communication technologies, ICT, for greater innovations and effectiveness in the industry through the ABIS database.
The acronym ABIS is Agriculture Business Information System. The primary objective is to provide demographic information as well as information on crops as well as livestock. So we do a lot of tracking of agricultural produce. We are working with the Met Service right now to link that information with Met Service so that real-time weather information within particular geographic location can be uploaded to the system, and then we get the feedback and we can assist farmers to make informed decisions as to when to plant and the type of crops they can plant based on weather conditions.
RADA has also been providing continuous certification and training to its extension staff.
Our main mandate is to provide technical advice to farmers. Right, the agency has gone further to provide us with trainings in pest and disease identification and management. They have provided us with training in marketing, proper use and management of equipment, use of personal protective equipment and such. And we pass that information on to the farmers on a daily basis.
The agency continues to find methods to further modernize the sector.
Our new board members here have decided we have three main focal points that we'd like to concentrate on. The first one is to increase the capacity to our technical team to send messages and information to our farmers in a more modern way. The second point is that we're going to try and encourage our farmers to produce more locally grown crops and things like onions and ginger that we import a lot. The third one is the value added part of it. For example, when you have cabbage and carrots, you sell them to the supermarket or to the hotels, but you also have like a grade B type of product. And what do you do with it? You can shred it and put it in pre-packaged packets to sell to the supermarket. So that value-added product will mean that we'll have absolutely no produce at all going to waste.
I think RADA has done a good job. RADA has to assume a role of providing technical advice and the transfer of technology so that we can become productive and hence more competitive, so that the products that we produce can meet the standards required for export, not only to satisfy the Jamaican output, but for exports.
If agriculture doesn't grow, the economy can't grow. And so RADA is a critical element in agriculture and a critical element for growth in this economy.
I am so grateful for the extension officers. Like, we can call upon them at any time.
I thank them immensely, especially the field officers, because they come out almost every week to check on us.
It's very worthwhile seeing the farmers utilize the information that they have been given and use it in order to better themselves.
For more information about RADA, call 977-1158 to 60 or email executive@rada.gov.jm.
Unfortunately, this is where the magazine ends today, but another informative edition awaits you tomorrow. Until then, remember to share your feedback and comments by sending an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and visit our website, jis.gov.jm. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do enjoy the rest of your week.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.